Are old 4chan users still here? So lots of SCP articles or SCP-173, Reddit articles and creepypasta articles are inspired by several threads in this board. Do you have any stories to share, some weird pictures, chain messages, or any creepy stuff happening way back? Probably one of my favorite memories from here was when I was behind an ongoing creepypasta/almost arg about a creepy humanoid creature that was following me. It was actually based on entirely real events happening to me at the time that I twisted around into a more interactive format. One of the most prolific points of that whole thing was when I had a group of people from here on a live stream I was doing, and literally everyone witnessed the creature walking around in the hallway behind me. I was unaware at the time because I was fucking around with something on my computer, and it was only when everyone started freaking out in chat that I realized something was up. Last I checked someone had recorded the stream, but I haven't checked up on it for years, so I have no idea where it would be now. Frowny face. Another one of my favorite bragging points is I'm the guy behind perhaps the most famous short creepypasta. There was a thread here where you had to make a creepypasta in 2 sentences or less, and mine is still going around today. Care to share your 2 sentences creepypasta? Sure can. It won't be word for word, obviously, but it went something like this. You hear your mother call you from the kitchen and you're on your way to meet her when she stops you on the stairs. Don't go, she tells you. I heard it too. Wow, you made that. I remember having trouble going to sleep the night I first read it. Glad to hear it. It was me, and I remember the thread sort of degenerated rapidly after that. Seems it creeped everyone out so much. Guess it's just one of those innate fears. People were even more creeped out when they asked me how I got the idea, and I told them it was partially based on something that happened to me. What did you base it on? When I was a little kid, about 6 or 7, I had these recurring nightmares. I'd dream I was running through this small forest near my house, which has a whole load of creepy shit of its own, but that's another story, and something would be after me. I'd never see it, but I would feel it, and it was that horrible feeling of dread you get when you just know something is horrifically, completely wrong. I would be too terrified to even scream, and I would run down my street and to my house, getting in through the front door just in time. Whatever was chasing me would then bang on the door hard enough to shake the entire door in its frame, and then I would wake up. The thing is, I would wake up still hearing that thudding, loud enough I could feel it in my chest. It would paralyze me with fear for several seconds, and then I would scream for my mom, and usually she would come in and comfort me, say it was a dream, etc. However, one time, I woke up and heard it and went to scream for her, but she was already running into my room, a look of complete terror on her face. Before I could tell her what was happening, she said to me, "SHH, stay quiet. I hear it too.
There is nowhere else you can live. Please don't be alarmed. This is just a warning. If you realize what is off in your housing, please ignore it. It will not change again." Unfortunately, I acknowledged it. I saw that my phone's charger moved from the top outlet to the bottom. The scratches on my table migrated towards the middle. The doorbell has a slightly different chime. The linoleum darkened. The font of my clock has enlarged. If I had only forgotten it just like everyone else, everything would be fine. Please don't go looking for the variances. If you see them, other things may find you. I'm not saying monsters, or anything crazy like that. It might be a family member or friend with a little change in eye color, a freckle may disappear. Their hairline may part another way. I hope you don't see them on people. If you do, it might be too late. I don't want to live here anymore. Please don't follow me here.
One spring day when I was 8 years old, my dad met me as soon as I got off the school bus. "Hey, champ. Wanna play some football?" This was unusual because he always worked overtime and was always tired. I told him I wanted to get a snack from mom and then I'd love to play. He moved quickly in front of the door. "Hey, your mom's not feeling well. How about I drive you out to McDonald's and get you a Happy Meal? I didn't really want a big meal, so I said no. Since mom got occasional migraines, I decided to stay outside and throw a Nerf football with him. After a short while of throwing, I needed to pee. I wanted to go inside, but Dad told me mom really needed her rest and I was not to go in the house. Instead, he led me to some bushes in our backyard. While we were back there, my neighbor called to Dad from the fence and they began talking. I crept over to the house and looked in through the window into the kitchen. My mom was sitting at the table, wringing her hands and shaking visibly. She was sitting a kid who looked exactly like me, but very pale. She was even feeding him my favorite meal, fish sticks and crinkle-cut fries. I raised my hand to bang on the window when a strong hand caught my wrist and another went over my mouth. My dad pulled me away from the window and off to the side and whispered, "SHHH. It doesn't know you're home."
As I walked nervously to the stairs, my sleeve brushed along the rusted bars of her cage, and to my absolute horror she awoke. A frail voice resonated from the stagnant corner, that ancient, fetid prison that had laid untouched for over a decade, and kept us safe from the unimaginable hate within. As her words began to form, interjected by that awful wheezing, a cold sweat crept through my body. I should not have come through here. I should have stayed upstairs. Daddy, please. Let me out, just for a minute. Her voice was almost human. Choking back the tears, I resolved to ignore her. This was not my daughter. Don't turn on the lights, I told myself, and walked away. As the voice got louder, the cage began to rattle, banging and scraping, deepening that familiar indent in the wall. How could you do this, Papa? She had never called me Papa when she was alive. I lit a cigarette with trembling hands and made my way up the steps. Turning the basement door handle, I paused for a moment as the room fell silent, and then I heard something I'd never heard before. The cage opening. Fuck that bitch. Not really a horror story, but would be pretty horrible, lol. Trapped. They had been trapped on the mountain for over 2 days now. The wind was bitterly cold and Allison was showing the first signs of hypothermia. They were trapped in an impossible position. The ledge they were standing on was barely wider than a single foot and therefore made walking extremely precarious. 2 days ago Janice had fallen after a ledge had collapsed. Allison had managed to grab her, but her safety gear had been shrugged off and dropped down the near mile-long drop to the next ledge. Janice had banged her head during the fall and Allison had feared she'd suffered a concussion, so, concerned for her friend, she had attempted to scale the slick, 10-meter rock face, up to the top and then make her way to the survival shelter, another mile away. It was a stupid idea and Allison failed almost immediately. Her foot had become wedged in an alcove and, in a poorly executed attempt to free it, she lost her grip and fell backwards. Her foot, however, remained jammed and now she was stuck, suspended upside down with her head just touching the ledge, preventing Janice from moving forward. That was 2 days ago. Janice couldn't go back, down, or up and Allison was blocking the ledge in front of her. It was hopeless, but, till weary from her bang on the head, Janice had finally realized what she had to do. She'd used her torch to flash SOS every night, hoping to alert somebody in the emergency shelter, or another climber, but nobody had come and Janice had ran out of food and water. Allison was alive, but mostly unconscious, spending her waking hours crying for God, or her mom, or both. Allison was certain to die. Even if Janice could free her foot, she'd be unable to move, and still be blocking the way forward. At least if Janice could move forward she'd be able to find a rock face that was easier to climb, or even a slope, taking her to the surface. Janice had debated it since the first night, but only now, staring into the face of death, did she convince herself she could. Moving slowly forward, she put one hand on the cliff and the other on Allison's jacket. She muttered a somber apology into her ear and then wrenched downwards. Allison's foot gave a sickening crack and she fell slightly backwards, but it was not the single pull that Janice had hoped would send Allison falling to the ground. She remained suspended by her foot. Tears welled up as Allison screamed and begged and cried, but Janice was committed. She grabbed Allison and pulled once more. This time her ankle snapped, ripping the foot and leg apart and sending Allison, screaming, to her death on the rocks below. Janice remained still for a few minutes longer, crying, cursing herself for what she'd done, her head hurt and she'd just killed her best friend. Then, with a shaky breath to compose herself, she began edging, tentatively, along the ledge. She jumped as someone shouted from above. She looked up in disbelief, seeing two men leaning over at the top. "Hold on, we've got a ladder. And there's a rescue chopper on its way for your friend."
So one time, right, there was this big, I mean seriously big apartment building, mainly used for student housing. Anyway, in the middle of the day, on some day other than October 31st, the students in room 65 get a phone call. "There's a new student going to be moving in next to you," says the voice on the other end. They ask who it is, no answer. But sure enough, the next day, there's boxes of stuff outside the room next to theirs. They hear movement and footsteps, but every time they go out, to introduce themselves, there's nobody there. Couple weeks pass, right? And they start forgetting about it. There's no new car in the parking lot, and nobody new on the bus to college. But then it starts to smell. Not just their corridor, not just their floor, the whole apartment block starts smelling of bad eggs and rotting meat. And when they're going to or from their apartment, they notice some weird liquid trickling under the door of the room next to theirs. But everyone buys some air freshener, and they start forgetting about it again. But then the screaming starts, in the middle of the night. Screams of horror, sounding really close by. They try putting on some music, but after a few nights, the lack of sleep starts really fucking them up. So they knock on their unseen neighbor's door, to try and get them to shut up, no answer. They look through the keyhole. If it was red, they'd be even worried, they've heard all the stories, but no, they can see through fine, and it's just a normal looking apartment, basically the same as theirs. Next day there's a body in the parking lot behind the building. It's clearly been thrown from high up. "Why does our bastard neighbor have to do all this fucking shit?" asks one of them, looking out the window at the body. "He's acting like a fucking nut. At least it distracts everyone from our murdering," replies another, forcing some mangled flesh into the food disposal.
"I checked in at the counter. God, it feels good to be on vacation. It's true that Bangkok can be a little dangerous, but this is a nice hotel, in a good part of the city, and as long as I stick to the stuff the hotels suggests that see and avoid weird taxis, I should be fine, right? Whatever, a whole week away from everything." I walk into my room and almost drop my fudge. "The world you" is written in blood on the wall. I call up the manager, more pissed than scared now. He tells me that it probably a prank from the last guys that just checked out or the staff. He tells me that he will have it cleaned by the time I get back. I hit the bars and come back, and sure enough it was gone. I walk into the bathroom the next day and start to shave. The steam fogs up the window. I look down to get my razor, and when I look up again, kill you, how the fuck did that happen? I think about it. If someone used their finger and wore it yesterday, the oil would stop the steam from fogging up and the words appear. It's got to be the staff, after all it's Bangkok. It was kind of fun. The next day it was all over my shower glass doors. This time it was to kill you. The next day, I walk up and his time I am afraid. The words, in blood on my ceiling, and it's dripping down on me. Going to kill you. I call the front desk but no answer this time. The room is locked and I can't open it. I hide in a corner all day. I can't tell what's going on now. This time I blink and it is written everywhere. Run. Going to kill you. The next morning I try for the door one last time. I can hear the manager on the other side. I cry for help and he tells me he is going to get an axe to break down the door. Relieved, I turn around as he starts to smash through the door. I take one last look at the room and then stop cold at what the blood on the balcony window says. Run. He's going to kill you.
As a child, I was always quiet, and my conversations with others would always end up awkward. Because of that, I always preferred to be alone growing up. Which probably explains my strange obsession with toys, being as old as I am. They never talk. They just stare. I have to say though, Being alone in an apartment full of figurines can be creepy sometimes. However, being with my girl for almost 2 years, she understands my obsession well, but with this much, she would probably be shocked when she first sees them. That night, she was more than excited to see my house. As we approached the door, she could barely contain her excitement, so without further delay, I swing the front door open. "Make yourself at home," I say to her. "It's kind of messy, but it's more comfortable than it." Her face was in shock, then absolute terror as she started to scream. I tried to calm her, but it just got worse. I was puzzled. Is she afraid of my toys? I understand it's a bit strange, but is it that horrifying? I take a quick look in my house, but there's nothing horrific. I had to calm her down, as the neighbors were starting to come out. With a quick impulse, I quickly drag her in my house as I try to ease her mind. Her screaming just got louder and louder. At this point, I had no choice but to put my hand over her mouth. She watched me in terror with tears rolling down her face. I turn around and they were all staring at me as well. I'm alone again. I placed her doll on the top shelf above all the others I have dated. Her look made me feel depressed, so I made it face the wall until I was able to get over it.
Entry number 11517. Captain Cutter here. This will probably our last entry. After all this time, it finally happened. The scientists calculated that something like this had a 78% probability of happening, but we continued with our travel hoping we would never see this day. What else could we do? We were fools thinking we could survive for too long with a 22% of margin, but at least we were happy fools, but not even happiness and ignorance can fight the cruelness of space. This endless and cold black sea is all I have been seeing for years, and I have seen it taking my men without piety, day after day. Every once in a while you see that space is not that empty after all, but that isn't usually a good thing. Every time we discover a new planet, our illusions are crushed upon further analysis after discovering that none of them are habitable, but sometimes space plays with something more than our feelings. Asteroids always break something, sometimes with more or less luck, but they always leave their signature in our ship. Last week we crossed an asteroid belt that damaged heavily our ship, and destroyed completely half of our reactors and engines, amongst other things. The energy levels are running out pretty fast and I doubt we can survive for more than 2 days even if we use an emergency saving protocol. I'm pretty pessimistic about this recording being heard by someone, but I'm still leaving it just in case. I want them to know what happened to the Last Hope, how it became a ghost ship in less than 2 weeks. We definitely got pretty far, but not far enough. I doubt anyone will miss us. There is no one waiting for us to return home.
March 14th, 2028. If you are reading this, thank you. This is the day our world ended. As we've learned, the governments of the world knew about the asteroids. Over the past 10 years approximately 5,000 people have been evacuated in an attempt to carry on humanity. Maybe you're a descendant of one of them. Anyways, thank you for finding my letter in its waterproof fireproof lockbox. I left $3,000-ish along with it, since it was there already and I didn't know what else to do with it. So, if it still has any value, enjoy. Frowny face. Anyways, I suppose I just wanted to tell you my story. Our story, I guess. Things are getting pretty crazy outside, so we're locked down in the basement. The boys are playing video games and we've managed to keep them unaware of what's going on. The asteroids are supposed to start impacting about 3 hours from now, and the largest one that's going to land right on top of us in about 3 hours and 20 minutes. The bathroom is all sealed up and ready. We'll go in, shut the door, turn on the gas and drift off to sleep. I love my kids more than anything and I'll tell them. They'll fall asleep thinking everything is okay. That is the only thing giving me peace right now. Their names are Luke and Noah and I love them very much. Thank you for finding this and reading this. Good luck.